Thank you very much, Sheila O'Leary. My next duty here is to introduce Dwight Ball, former Premier Dwight Ball, and I'm going to say a few words about Dwight Ball myself. We've talked about a lot of female politicians here tonight, and I covered politics when Dwight Ball was the Premier, and sometimes people ask me, what was he like? What was Dwight Ball like? And I have two stories. Just before Christmas, the Premier would come into NTV and do a year-end interview. And it was usually done around the 20th, 21st of December. And of course, at the same time, people at work would be going out and having their Christmas lunches. And Dwight Ball came into the station, and I'm sure he remembers this too, and to do, I think it was a 60 or 90-minute interview. And the production staff hadn't come back from their Christmas lunch. So we're sitting there, Michael Connors and I, and here's the Premier of the province who has much better things to do than wait around at NTV, but he was very, very patient and very kind, and not many people would do that. And I just want to thank you for being a class act and being very patient with us that day. And on a lighter note, you've always been a very gracious person, unflappable, really. It's really hard to get you on the go, kind of the opposite of Jerome Kennedy. Remember Jerome Kennedy years ago? He's not like that. Is Jerome here tonight? I hope not. Anyway. We would always joke. I used to do a show at the station called Issues and Answers, and we saw some really weird hairdos here tonight in these pictures. Yvonne had I don't know how many colors and how many hair changes, and Joan Marie had different hair, and lots of us. And I put myself in the same category. I'm kind of challenged on the hair front when it comes to being nice and neat and tidy and all of that. So I would joke always with Dwight Ball and Michael Connors, two of the people in television in this province who had the best hair ever. And I would joke with them before we'd start an interview, and I'm like, why am I stuck here with you two? Always looking so great. Anyway, former Premier Dwight Ball, thank you for being here tonight, and I want to call you now to the stage. I know you're going to introduce our guest of honor this evening.
Well, thank you, Lynn. I do remember that day in December. It was actually my birthday. So what better way to spend it in December than with Lynn and Michael? So I get the privilege tonight to introduce someone that I've known quite some time. Before I do, I want to make a few comments as well. But I also want to say thank you to Kathy Dunderdale tonight. I served as the opposition leader while Kathy was Premier of the province. And I can tell you, when you look at politicians and you see the reports, you watch the news, you do all the things that you have to do to stay in tune with things. And I have some great memories of working with Kathy. And as she was speaking, my mind went back to a day, I think it was in 2012 or 2013. It was a St. Paddy's Day weekend, and of course everybody was interested in getting on the road and getting moving. And Kathy and I, on a Thursday afternoon, was sitting in the House of Assembly, just the two of us. The room was empty, and for those that have had the privilege of sitting in that chamber, it was always a surreal feeling just to look around the history and things that occurred in that chamber. And Kathy and I were just sitting down, and we weren't talking about anything that was relevant in the news that evening. We were talking about each other's families and how we would spend the weekend, and how important it was to be able to sit with someone like Kathy. So I've always remembered that, and I really appreciate it, and I'm so proud to see you here tonight. So this whole idea of recognizing the great work of Yvonne Jones, I give equal voice, all the credit for this. You've done a remarkable job. Now, I first met Yvonne Jones in the late 90s. We became very close friends, political colleagues. And like everyone has said tonight, quickly you would realize that Yvonne is a Labradorian. She's deeply rooted to the big land. The sense of pride when you talk to her about Labrador is very obvious. And I'm sitting with Jordan Brown tonight, and I think Jordan will go back, and I remember a very special memory of raising the flag on the borders going into and exiting Labrador. That was pretty special. And we did a ceremony in the South Coast. We did one in Lab West as well. But I always remember the emotions on that evening and raising those flags, because Yvonne fought hard to get that done. And it was almost seemed like a very simple thing for us to be doing as leaders. But it was big for Yvonne, and it's a day that I'll never forget. It was a brilliant blue, sunny day in Labrador. Now tonight we've heard a lot of speakers use words to describe Yvonne. People talked about her persistence, they've talked about her courage. I would say that she's a very loyal individual. Yvonne's a friend for life. But I think there's one thing that we all remember Yvonne Jones for, is that she's a fighter. Now, she has fought some very tough personal challenges. We've seen those tonight. And a lot of political challenges along the way. But she's done it with determination, but she's also done it because she wanted to inspire others, because she always knew that there would be someone else that would have to deal with something very similar that she was dealing with. Now, I will say, and Joseph knows this, however, Yvonne's not perfect. And I'm sure that's not breaking news on Twitter, but she is not perfect. And there is one word that you will never, never hear anybody say to describe Yvonne Jones, and that's punctual. We have waited in airports. We have waited in meetings. And when we check in at airports, I would always say, as you look at the tags on the airports, some of them will start with, YYT and so on. I said, the first Y is for Yvonne. But, it's interesting. Did you ever notice anybody that's late for anything when they come into a room? They're the happiest person there. They got smiles, they're jolly, they're just bubbly. But the people waiting in the room, they're not smiling. I remember we were in Blanc-Sablon, and we were aboard of the flight. Yvonne gets on the flight, she's late. And Mr. Dumaras used to meet us at the flight there all the time. And she gets on the flight, she grabs a basket of candy, and she starts walking down the aisle, the work of the flight attendant, of course, and she starts passing out these candy, and she's telling everybody, "You been skidooing the weekend, or where you going now? You going out to see a doctor, or you going out to visit your kids? Like, where you going?" This is what she was doing, and all of a sudden, everybody started feeling good. Yvonne could do no wrong. But why she was late was something that always struck me. She was late usually because it was someone that she met along the way that needed help. And so the most important person in Yvonne's life would be the person that needed some help, someone that needed something done that Yvonne could probably help them with. And so to her, she gave to Yvonne, she gave them all the time that was needed. And I served on a lot of campaigns with Yvonne, a lot of winter campaigns. And I always say that you support Yvonne Jones, you got the extended warranty. Now, I don't know what people would know what that means. It was kind of like the premium package that you get if you would support Yvonne Jones. By that I mean, and there is a story attached to this. I remember a young student that we met one time, and Yvonne was looking for a job for this young student. And so this premium package, this extended warranty, extended into not just finding the job for the individual. That wasn't good enough, but no. Yvonne had to make sure this person had a ride to the job, they had accommodations, he had a good place to stay, he had some money for meals. It was the holistic approach to making sure that it wasn't just the job, was that person would be comfortable in their workplace. So that's who she is. If you ever want to see someone tackle a problem, well, you'll never see anyone that's more creative in getting a problem solved than Yvonne Jones. She is a master. And, you know, for me, that's not just because she's a successful politician, which she has, and she is. It's really simply because she's a good person. Now, Yvonne comes by this quite naturally. And Barb, don't you go crying there now. Because when you know Yvonne's mom, you will know that, and the Rumble family, she comes from a long heritage of supporting communities, giving back to communities. So giving back is nothing new to Yvonne Jones, and her mother deserves a lot of the credit for that. And has been said by Joan Marie, this has been a challenging year for the Rumble family, and you know, you can still come out of this with a smile on your face and making sure that you continue to give back to your communities. And we all know that COVID has done what it's done for socialization. I'm seeing people here tonight. Someone said earlier, it's like Lynn just said they've been got out of jail. I don't know what getting out of jail is like. Came close a few times, I think. But COVID has added a new dimension to socialization. It has been very difficult on families. So you got to think about what it would be like for someone who's had a busy life like Yvonne, used to bouncing around everywhere, like I said, being late for flights and meetings and so on, and having people, you know, working with her. So it's added a new dimension. There's been a lot of loneliness, and you're working a lot of long hours. So if you picture Yvonne in her new office, she'd be up in Mary's Arbor. She's got 3 or 4 screens on the go there. She's got cell phones. She's got pen and paper. She's got it all there, everything within arm's length, including 3 to 4 tubes of lipstick, a few pairs of these new fancy glasses now that they're all wearing in Ottawa. All of that's got to be right in arm's length because the next Zoom call is going to have someone new on it. They didn't want to see the whole stuff, so they wanted to see the new refreshed look of Yvonne Jones. So we saw a lot of that tonight too, by the way. So I will say that I see that as another attribute. This is her ability to adapt to the present world, adapt to the new realities that we all face in the ever-evolving workplace that we now have post-COVID. And Yvonne is doing it. In doing so, she's inspiring others to follow in her footsteps. She's been a trailblazer, as the Premier has already mentioned. She has set many goals for herself. You don't have to share them with us, Yvonne. No, David, you're safe. But she has set many goals for their job. And that's the reason why she's been successful in politics for 25 years. Someone mentioned that Yvonne is a woman of first. There was a long list of things that she's been first to do. But in the election, federal election, when she came into politics, she was the first election that was ever won by the current Prime Minister. That was in Labrador. And I remember that day, and since someone brought up Jerome Kennedy, I will share this one story. So it was late one afternoon. We were sitting in the House of Assembly. Yvonne was sitting next to me, and there was this cabinet minister on the other side. I go, like this here. I looked over, and this was Jerome, and he was going foolish on this BlackBerry. And all of a sudden, he walks across the floor of the House of Assembly. And he takes the BlackBerry and he puts it up in front of Yvonne and myself, and he says, "Go have some fun." And we looked at it, and this was the news. It was broke by CBC that there had been a resignation in Labrador. The seat was now open. So we met. We had 6 seats in the House of Assembly. Premier Dunderdale nearly crushed us in that election in 2011. We were on life support. And we had 6 seats, the NDP had 5, and I knew Yvonne wanted to do this, so we got together that night and we had a meeting. We certainly encouraged her to go, as we should, because I felt she could do a remarkable job in Ottawa, representing Newfoundland and in particular Labrador. Now, over the years, I've shared a lot of meetings with Yvonne. She's not shy. She's not quiet in a room. So when I think of equal voice and the great work you're doing, I've been in the presence of many stubborn, gray-haired men who were looking for an equal voice in the same room with Yvonne. We were the ones who were looking for the time. Yvonne took all the time she needed, as she should. But you know, she always made sure that the challenges that face women in politics and in society and gender diversity was front and center at all those meetings. So we have heard from quite a few speakers tonight. So it is my pleasure to welcome Yvonne Jones. It's her voice that we want to hear. Give her a big, warm welcome. Yvonne.